Week 12 is here. It's time to give you a detailed breakdown on my wide receiver tiers. I'll do a quick summary of my running back tiers, and we talking pigskin pick'em. If you don't want the detailed breakdowns, or you're just interested in a certain part, there'll be timestamps below. Skip to wherever you want. I just want you to get what you need, because I'm here for you, the people. So Jeffrey, let's get it started.
Yes, sir.
Wide receiver must starts. Some of these are obvious, we don't gotta get into them. Jeffrey, give me a list of the obvious starts, please.
Jackson Smith-Njigba, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nakua, Rashi Rice, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams.
These guys are rock stars. I couldn't see you sitting them in almost any situation, so we're gonna keep it moving. T. Higgins is a must start this week. With Jamar Chase out and with Joe Burrow possibly back in the lineup, I couldn't imagine you sitting him. The Patriots as a whole are not a great defense against a wide receiver, but Christian Gonzalez is an elite shadow cornerback, so it does throw a little bit of a damper on it, but I think he gets enough volume to where he's gotta be in your lineups. It is the highest over-under of the week, chilling at 50.5 points. I want pieces of that game. Emeka Egbuka has only scored 10 points or more once in his last 5 games. This aligns with his hamstring injury he had a few weeks ago. This makes sense because that's around the time he hurt his hamstring. He had a fantastic game against the New England Patriots 2 weeks ago, so I think he's getting back in the swing of things. I love the targets. He's had 9 or more targets in the past 4 games. This week he goes up against the Rams, and they don't scare me. Fire him up. Stephon Diggs has been a top 10 wide receiver in the past 3 weeks, and I think he keeps it up. He's had 8 or more targets in back-to-back weeks. He had 11 last week. And now he gets the Cincinnati Bengals? Yeah, fire him up. Ted McMillan was the wide receiver 1 last week. He was balling out. Loved the 12 targets. He turned that into 8 receptions for 130 yards and 2 of them things. Them things is touchdowns. 2 of them things. And I'm not afraid of the 49ers defense. They've allowed the 4th most points to the wide receiver position in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, Tet should do some work. Chris Olave is coming off of one of his best games of the year before the bye last week. Over 100 yards and a touchdown. And now he gets the Atlanta Falcons, who don't scare you. Fire him up. Justin Jefferson is a must start, and I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of it is out of respect. He's been disappointing if you compare him to his standards. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. I love the target, love the talent. He's had 9 or more targets in 7 straight games. But he hasn't been giving you those boom games since J.J. McCarthy's been the quarterback. Now he's a rookie, so I will be giving him time. It's just fantasy football, and I kind of want my points now. We got a few games before the playoffs, so I'm hoping they can kick into gear. The thing is, Justin Jefferson can make it work with anybody. He should be able to make it work with J.J. I think he can start this week. That being said, I am curious if Jair Alexander is going to be shadowing him. That could be interesting. But he's JJ, should be fine. He'll get the volume, you ain't sitting him. Moving on to the solid starts. Solid start wide receivers. A.J. Brown's been really difficult to predict. After his injury, back-to-back underwhelming games. But this is a great matchup going up against the Dallas Cowboys. He should be able to cook them boys. So I got him as a solid start. I really liked the 11 targets last week. Speaking of those Cowboys, George Pickens balled out last week. 9 receptions for 144 yards and a touchdown. So I know he's going to be in your lineup, but it's a rough matchup. The Philadelphia Eagles are good, and he could get shadowed by Quinyon Mitchell. But at the end of the day, George Pickens is a really good wide receiver, so you should play him. You never know if he's going to break one. Did you see him last week? He was running like a dog. It was hard for them boys to get him down. Jameson Williams has been incredible these last 3 weeks. Color me surprised. He's been wide receiver 3 over the last 3 weeks. What? It helps when you have a touchdown in 3 straight games, to be fair. And he has a good matchup against the New York Giants. Definitely a solid start. Devonta Smith is coming off of a horrific week last week. 1 reception for 8 yards? Are you kidding me? And now I'm putting him in the solid starts? Yeah, bro, that's what happens when you play the Dallas Cowboys. They about to sling that thing. Also, prior to last week's dud, Devonta Smith was balling. 33 points, 14, 17. He was putting in work. Last week was bad, but I think you could play him against the Cowboys. Michael Wilson was unstoppable last week. He was a wide receiver too. You kidding me? 15 receptions for 185 yards? What? And you got him off the waiver wire? Some of y'all won your week because of him, and some of y'all had a surprising defeat. If you got him, I'm playing him again. Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, so slide him back into your starting lineup. Zay Flowers has been fine this year. Nothing overly exciting other than week 1 when everybody told me he was going to take over the league, and he went right back to being where I said he would. Fine. He's had double-digit fantasy points in 4 straight games. That's good, but I think he can do a little more in this one. They go up against the Jets. The Ravens are 13.5-point favorites, and there is no Sauce Gardner, so he should be able to cook. He doesn't have the whole game to cook, though, because it sounds like it's going to be a blowout. And once it's a blowout, you can expect Derrick Henry to be in there getting some work. But while it's still competitive, I think Zay Flowers should be solid. Wan'Dale Robinson has had 9 or more targets in 3 straight games. He's going up against the Lions, so they're going to be down and needing to sling it. So I think it's definitely a solid start. Roma Doomsday has been super boomer bust lately. Here's how he's done in the last 4 weeks in PPR. 18 points, 0 points. 20 points, 6 points. Are you kidding me? Well, if these trends continue, this should be a good week, so fire him up. Plus, the Steelers aren't good against the wide receiver position, which honestly is very surprising considering the cornerbacks they have in the secondary. Did not expect them to be mid to bad, but they haven't been great. So I think you can fire up Rome. Michael Pittman Jr. was absolutely horrific last week. 2 receptions for 19 yards? Are you joking? What is that stat line? I think he bounces back because the 3 games prior, he was averaging 8 receptions for 89 yards and almost a touchdown. Now, the problem is he's going up against a desperate Kansas City Chiefs team. So I don't think he's going to cook. I think he could have a solid game, which is why he's here and not in a must start. He should be solid. Moving on to the flex plays. I'm going to be honest with you. I was really tempted to make all 3 of these guys questionable flexes, but I consider them slightly above the questionable flexes. But man, was it close. I made that decision 10 minutes ago. So these are flexes that lean closer to questionable flexes. Jawan Jennings was pretty solid prior to Brock Purdy coming back last week. The 2 games before that, he had 14 and 17 fantasy points. He also had a touchdown in back-to-back weeks prior to last week. The reason why he's in the flex consideration is Brock Purdy's back, and I'm very curious to see where the ball is going to end up going. I think they want to get Ricky Pearsall back in the flow. You obviously know he loves him some George Kittle. And let's be real, Christian McCaffrey is probably the wide receiver 1 on this team because the man gets targets. But I think he should be worth the flex going up against the Panthers, who don't really scare you. Moving on. DK Metcalf is a really hard wide receiver to trust because on one hand, he hasn't had 10 fantasy points in the last 3 weeks. And last week was against the Cincinnati Bengals. Everybody cooks them. And they beat the Bengals 34-12. And the man didn't eat. Now, mind you, to be fair, Aaron Rodgers did get hurt in that game. But what explains the 2 games before that, when he had 6.5 fantasy points and 2.6 fantasy points? Like I was saying. On the other hand, it's a great matchup. Going up against the Bears, who are allowing a bunch of points to the wide receiver position. So that's why he slides in as a flex. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe trash. Fingers crossed for the good matchup. Alec Pierce has been really impressive for this last month. He's had 14 or more fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 weeks. What? Pretty good. Unfortunately, he has a terrible matchup going up against a hungry Kansas City Chiefs team. But he can always pop one, so flex play. Moving on to the questionable flexes. Romeo Doubs has been pretty meh recently. In the last month, he's had 10 or more points once, hovering around that 9 range. I do like the targets though, so he is getting targets, which is good. Just not producing as much as I'd like him to. He was also limited this week with the wrist injury. Plus, the Vikings are tough against the wide receiver. That all fits the bill for a questionable flex. Ricky Pearsall was absolutely horrific last week. 3 targets, 1 reception for 0 yards. What? I think that's got to get better. Now, unfortunately, he did have a hamstring injury, but he was a full participant in practice on Thursday, so he should be fine. Dice roll on a team that needs receiving help, I think they work him in. he was on the field for 75% of snaps. Xavier Worthy has been extremely disappointing this last month. He's only had one game above 10 fantasy points, and that's PPR. The hope is that in a must-win game, him and Mahomes can actually connect on a deep ball. I feel like Mahomes has been overthrowing him by a bit. They got to get that timing right because they've missed out on some big plays. He only has one receiving touchdown this year. What? Let's be real, let's be honest though. He hasn't been good since Rashee Rice has been back. Those targets are going somewhere else. Christian Watson had 2 touchdowns last week, which is incredible. But they're using him in a very limited fashion. These are his targets for the last 4 games. 4, 4, 4, 5. What? So yeah, 2 touchdowns is great, but he had 2 touchdowns on 4 targets. It's kind of hard to rely on that. I do think they're working him back into shape and everything because he's been out for a while, but he's going to be hard to rely on until he gets his targets up. Also, he's currently questionable with a knee. He was limited in practice on Thursday, so you're going to want to monitor that. Darnell Mooney has been surprisingly bad this year. He hasn't scored 10 points in PPR all year long. Ugh. And mind you, this isn't some random scrub. Last year he had 10 fantasy points 10 times. He should have been able to cross that at least once. But a lot of those times were with Kirk Cousins. Well, Kirk Cousins is back, baby. And unfortunately, Drake London is out this week with a knee injury. So Darnell Mooney should get some more work. Solid flyer. Speaking of flyers, it's been rough for Jordan Addison since JJ McCarthy has been the starter. Yeah, he got a touchdown last week. I'll give him that. But he only had 2 receptions for 20 yards. Without that touchdown, he would have had 4 fantasy points. No bueno. The targets are nice, 7 and 11 in the last 2 weeks. But JJ has got to get better, and I think he will. He's basically a rookie because he was out his first year. Then he came in this year, played a couple games and was out with an injury, and now he's back. He'll bounce back, but he's making his receivers less reliable. Talent's still there, and he can always bust a deep one. Jordan Addison is known for great deep plays, but those are less predictable. DJ Moore has been terrible this year. He's only had 1 really good game for fantasy purposes all year. And to his credit, he had 21 fantasy points. Very solid. But he's only had 3 games this year with 10 or more fantasy points. And honestly, it's really 2 games. I'm rounding up for the 9.5 to be nice. Because this game log is ugly. 7, 7, 11, 6, 7, 7, 9.6, 21, 0, 3. These are PPR. This is absolutely horrific. Now, on the bright side, they're going up against the Steelers who allow a lot of points to the wide receiver position. Still very surprising to me because the Steelers had a lot of really nice names in that secondary. I expected them to be much better, but alas, here we are. Could he play well? Maybe. There's a lot of mouths to feed though, so flip of a coin. Do you feel lucky? Well, do ya? Punk. Play at your own risk. Good matchup though. And the rest of these guys are solid dart throws. Jacoby Myers is still figuring out the Jacksonville offense. Parker Washington had a terrible week last week in a blowout, but I liked where the targets were before that. He had 7 or more targets in 3 of the last 4 games. I like that. Jerry Jeudy might be better with Shedeur Sanders. Couldn't be much worse other than that 1 game. Andreas Yoshiva should get some more work with Jamar Chase out. I actually think he's a sneaky start if you're desperate because Christian Gonzalez should be on T. Higgins, so that should free up Yoshivas a bit. Tej Johnson has been pretty boomer bust, but when he hits, he hits. He's had a touchdown in 3 of the last 5 games, and 2 weeks ago, he had 2 touchdowns. Mac Hollins has been solid, double-digit points in 3 of the last 4 games. He's also gone for 85 yards or more in 2 of the 4 games. That's pretty good. And with Marvin Harrison Jr. out, I think that Greg Dortch could be in your starting lineup. Last week, he went 6 for 66 and a touchdown. If they want to beat the Jaguars, they're going to have to score. Jaguars are a pretty good defense against the receivers, but solid flyer. All right, let's do a wide receiver recap. Start me at the top, Jeffrey.
Yes, sir.
Week 12, top 40 wide receivers by tiers. Must starts.
Jackson Smith-Njigba, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nakua, Rashee Rice, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, Emeka Egbuka, Stephon Diggs, Teteroa Macmillan, Chris Olave, Justin Jefferson,
Solid starts.
A.J. Brown, George Pickens, Jameson Williams, Devonta Smith,
Michael Wilson.
Zay Flowers, Wandale Robinson, Rome Odunze, Michael Pittman Jr.,
Flex plays.
Jalwan Jennings, DK Metcalf,
Alec Pierce. Questionable flexes.
Romeo Doubs, Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Worthy, Christian Watson, Darnell Mooney, Jordan Addison, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers,
Parker Washington.
Jerry Jeudy,
Andre Yoshivas. Tej Johnson. Mac Hollins. And Greg Dortch. That's going to wrap up the wide receivers. Moving on to running backs. Week 12, top 40 PPR running backs by tiers. Must starts. Give me a list, Jeffrey.
Christian McCaffrey, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Rico Dowdle, Kyron Williams, Treveon Henderson,
Solid starts.
Chase Brown, Travis Etienne Jr., Javonte Williams, Ashton Jeanty, DeAndre Swift, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker III, Jalen Warren, Quinshon Judkins, David Montgomery,
Flex plays. Emmanuel Wilson, if Josh Jacobs is out.
Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Tyrone Tracy Jr.,
Sean Tucker.
Ramondre Stevenson,
And Bam Knight. Questionable flexes. Kareem Hunt.
Zach Charbonnet, Rashad White,
Kenneth Gainwell.
Tony Pollard, Ty-J Spears, Baishul Tuten, Tyler Allgeier,
Michael Carter.
Blake Corum.
And Kyle Monangai. Moving on to Pigskin Pick'em. Week 12 Pigskin Pick'em. Your boy needs to go on a heater. Let's get it started. I already got this Texans game right. Let's keep it moving. Steelers plus 3.5 against the Bears. Looks like Rodgers is going to play. I think they can keep it within a field goal. Bengals plus 8.5. Right now it looks like Burrow might play. Kind of counting on it. Patriots been good though. Just too many points for Burrow. Lions minus 10.5. They always bounce back well after getting embarrassed at home in a dome. Vikings plus 6.5. Packers barely covered this against the Giants. Vikings have offensive weapons. Just be able to get it together to keep it within 6.5. Divisional game. Seahawks minus 12.5. It's a big spread. But man, I do not believe in rookies going up against good defenses. Give me the Seahawks. Colts plus 3.5. I think the Chiefs win, but I don't like the 3.5. I'd prefer if it was 2.5. Colts are good enough to where I think they can keep it within a field goal. Rooting for the Chiefs though. They need a dub. Bad. Come on, Chiefs. Mahomes, tighten up. You gotta hit one of those deep throws. You at home. Not gonna be mad if I miss this one. Ravens minus 13.5. A little iffy on this one because Lamar's banged up, but the Jets just don't have it. Sauce gone, Quentin Williams gone, starting Tyrod Taylor, no Garrett Wilson. Ravens, run the ball. Browns plus 3.5. Honestly, kind of surprised they're getting points. That defense is fierce, and the Raiders have not looked good. Jaguars minus 2.5. I like that it's 2.5 and not 3. Yeah, they're on the road, and the Cardinals have been playing well, but they've lost the last 2 games by a combined like 40 points. Jaguars should have a letdown, but they should be able to take care of business. Fingers crossed. Eagles minus 3.5. I don't like that it's 3.5, but that defense has looked really good. Divisional matchups, I don't normally like to pick more than 3, but I think the Eagles are just a much better defense. They should be able to pull away towards the end. Falcons plus 2.5. I know they don't have Drake London. I know that they're starting Kirk Cousins. Divisional matchup. Bijan, do some work. You got this, bro. Plus, you're getting points. Against the Saints, Bucks plus 6.5. 6.5 is a decent amount of points. A little nervous about it, but I think my Bucks should be able to keep it close. If not, take it over at the end. Let's go Bucks. 49ers minus 7.5. This one makes me nervous. It's a pretty big spread. But the Panthers on the road, I think the 49ers should be able to do some work. And give me 50 points. I like rooting for the over. Who did I have too high? Who do I have way too low? And what picks do you think are off? So that's gonna do it with this week's rankings and pick 'em. If you have any questions, hit me up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and the notification bell down below. If you have any questions, hit me up. Good luck in your matchups this week. Look forward to answering your questions. I'll see you soon, Bet Nation. Peace.